Hi, I'm Rachel, an exercise specialist in cardiac rehab, and today I'm going to do a short education session on exercise prescription. This is one of the topics we teach weekly as a topic to help you guide your exercise program. It will give you all the factors so that you're appropriately exercising for your individual fitness level, your likes, dislikes, abilities, and improving to meet your health goals. So this should improve your overall health, reduce cardiovascular risk factors, and give you a good framework for how much exercise to do and at what intensity. So we're going to use the FIT principle, F-I-T-T, and we're going to go over each component. So frequency would be how many days of the week are you supposed to be doing this? So for your cardiovascular exercise only, that's what we're talking about today, we want you to be exercising up to most days of the week, ideally 5. Now, if you've never done any exercise, starting off with 2 or 3 days a week is going to give you great cardiovascular benefit. And if you are more of a regular exerciser, you want to be hitting that 3 to 5 days a week mark right off the bat, knowing that some weeks will allow for more time than others. The I is for intensity. So how hard should you be working? We are going to base this on a couple things. First, we can base it on heart rate. Initially, when you start cardiac rehab, we want you to look at your resting heart rate, and we'll add 20 and 30 to that. So say, for example, if your resting heart rate averages 60 over a couple days, add 20 and add 30, that would be 80 to 90 would be a range. Now, for some people on beta blockers, that might be a perfectly fine range. Maybe you're not able to get your heart rate up all that much anymore. Being on that medicine, that is what it's designed to do, to slow the heart rate down a bit to have your heart become more efficient at pumping and filling. So that is not a bad thing. That's really a good thing. Now, sometimes people are still able to get a decent heart rate rise with exercise. Even, as 2 people on the same beta blocker, same activity level, etc. So we just have to figure out what's right for you. The other way we can look at it is an age predicted heart rate target. And if you think that's something that you might be using or needing to use, please talk with your exercise specialist that you work with most closely. That would help us look at your age, your resting heart rate, and an appropriate percentage for you to maybe give you a slightly higher heart rate range, but it gives you an upper limit so that you're not going, higher than necessary. A higher heart rate is not necessarily better. The other way that you can always fall back on, which is a really good method, is your rating of perceived exertion. So there's different scales that you can use, and in rehab we use a 6 to 20 scale. So 6 would be sitting as I am now, easily talking, no exerting any effort. Okay, as you move upwards on the scale, 11 is fairly light, so that's still able to talk relatively easy, but maybe your breathing rate is coming up a little bit. Maybe you're starting to break a sweat, and your muscles are starting to have to work. As you get into like 12, 13 is that somewhat hard mark, that's a good effort. You're not exhausted, but you're having to do some work. It's your exercise zone, really. Up to 15 equals hard on the scale. That's where you feel like you're giving it a good push. Maybe you could only go a few more minutes. Maybe you're starting to feel like you want to stop, but you could probably keep going a little bit. That's kind of finding that appropriate edge for you. Now, as you drift upwards of that, 17 is very hard, 19 very, very hard. We do not want to be pushing it that hard. And so this is a really good way for you to just be in tune with how you feel. And you're the judge of your exercise. You're going to know your body better than anyone else you're maybe trying to go out for a walk with. Or, me watching you, if I were to be with you, I can't always tell how exercise feels to somebody. So you're using this scale to help guide you. All right, so that's your intensity. That's probably the most in-depth part of this exercise prescription. The 2 T's are pretty straightforward. One would be for time. So how long should you do this? There's a couple magic numbers I want you to remember. 150 minutes a week. That's a good one to remember. And then per exercise session, somewhere around 30 minutes is a good goal to shoot for. If you can't do 30 minutes of continuous exercise, that's not a problem, especially if you're a beginner exerciser. Bouts of 10 to 15 minutes, or even slightly shorter, if you're really coming out of surgery and you haven't been out yet, you would just be benefiting from 5 to 10 minutes at a time. And you can add a couple minutes each week that you're exercising, each week that you get further from being in the hospital. So let's recap that again. So 30 minutes a session, if you can work up to that, if you can do 30 minutes 5 days a week, that is that magic 150 minutes a week. That is shown to be a good number to maintain your cardiovascular health. And you want to be working. It should feel somewhat hard, just as we talked about, within that range. It shouldn't feel 150 easy minutes a week. That's not going to be enough to challenge you. And you might want some of that to be a little bit more intense, maybe up to that hard range, and some of it to be a little bit easier. But the overall, you should be working in your heart rate target zone about 150 minutes a week. Those 30 minutes of your session. Some days you might have more or less time. So again, maybe some days you're doing 15 to 20 minutes. Maybe one day you have a little bit longer and you've built up your endurance and you can go for a 45-minute walk. That's great. Type. Well, now I've talked a lot about, I've mentioned walking, but you can have many different modes of cardiovascular exercise. So anything that keeps your large muscles moving, in motion, rhythmic. So it can't be a lot of start-stop motion. So walking, bicycling, moderate dancing, using any type of cardiovascular machine. So again, a treadmill for walking or a bike, an elliptical, a rower. We have several different kinds of seated steppers in our facility. Those are great for rehab facilities and great for improving some strength while you're doing cardio. So your legs are going to benefit from your leg muscles. So any of those activities are cardiovascular in nature. Progression. As you progress through the weeks of being out of surgery or out of the hospital, you'll notice that if you were to keep your same speed or the same distance or same amount of exercise, it will feel easier. And that's fine to do. You keep it steady. Your body's going to adapt and it's going to get more efficient at what you're doing. So a 15-minute walk that you might have said was a 14 or 15, somewhat hard or hard, after a few weeks or maybe even a week or two, you might feel like it's an 11 or fairly light. So that's why we increase a little bit. Either you can play around with the time or the intensity. So you could add, somewhere between 3 or 5 minutes onto your walk, as we talked about, building up to maybe 45 on a day where you have more time. Or if you're not going to have that much time or you'd rather just try to up your intensity, you're saying, okay, well, my heart rate maybe hasn't gotten into my target this whole walking time or the whole biking time. I'm going to push it up a little bit of a hill, or I'm going to walk a little bit faster, or I'm going to go up a level of resistance on my bike. So those are all great ways to progress your exercise intensity. So as an exercise specialist, my job is to help you judge the safety of your exercise and give you these parameters so that you're able to find a program that you enjoy. As we've mentioned, there's many different types of cardiovascular exercise, so finding something that you're going to not mind doing or maybe even enjoy a little bit is great. If you're not someone that likes to walk outside, we're going to need to find an indoor home exercise plan for you. If that's not going to be, your cup of tea in the long run, right now while you're at home, we need to find a home walking plan, a home exercise plan so that you can safely walk at a distance from other people. But eventually, be thinking about where you might want to do this exercise routine long term. Maybe in the future, joining a gym or rejoining a gym or coming back into the cardiac rehab facility with others to help you pass the time and to help keep you distracted while you exercise. Those are all good things that help you get in those 30 to 60 minutes of your exercise session. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to one of the exercise specialists in cardiac rehab. And we hope that you found this beneficial and informative and can go forth and formulate your exercise prescription. Take care.